In this video, I'd like to discuss at a high level the three core technologies we'll be using for our class. First, we're going to take a look at HTML, which provides the structure of the web pages we'll be working on. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language and was first introduced in 1993. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet and allows us to update the design, the style, and the appearance of a web page, first introduced in 1994. Finally, we'll take a look at JavaScript, which allows us to add logic and functionality to web pages, introduced first in 1995. So as you can see, year after year, a need was determined to improve the functionality of web pages, from static web pages to static web pages with additional styling, finally to interactivity. First, we're going to look at HTML. HTML provides the structure of the web page. It contains the text that has all the headings, the paragraphs, links and images, tables, lists, etc. Anything that you want to have displayed in your page will be coming through this HTML. You'll see on this slide there are 3 lines of HTML. Each line of HTML starts with a tag. We'll go into the tags in a little more detail in the coming weeks. But for now, just know that a tag starts with a less than sign and ends with a greater than sign. Each tag is an opening tag, as you can see by the H1, and a closing tag by the // H1 on the same line. The H1 is a heading tag. It will provide a heading to our web page. P is a paragraph tag. The paragraph tag puts simply a paragraph of text on the page. Finally, the IMG tag, image, displays an image. Now the image tag has additional parameters, src, which is the source of the image, which can be either a file on the local web server or a URL to another web server. The alt tag is some alternate text that can be displayed if the image cannot be rendered. As you can see, since a web page and HTML are comprised of text, we can easily use a text editor on your computer to enter these lines of code and test them. For this demonstration, I'll be using the Microsoft Edge browser to display the web page that we're going to create as a demonstration. Using Notepad, a very basic text editor, I'm going to add the text from the slide with a little bit of a modification. And here it is. Now with the modifications, I added some additional tags, the HTML tag, the heading tag, and the body tag. Again, don't worry about what these are right now. We will go into much more detail in week 2. Here is the heading tag that we saw before, the paragraph tag that we saw before, and the image tag. Now the difference I used with the image tag this time is I put in a URL of an actual image so we can actually display it in our web page. So I'll save this file, and I'll go back to our web browser, and I have another tag, the file already loaded. And as you can see, it's just a file on my hard drive. If I refresh the page, you'll see here is our web page. It has the heading, the paragraph, and the image. Since the image was displayed, the alt text is not displayed. If I go back to our demo.html file and remove this, and I put in a file name that does not exist, like we'll put in the original photo.png, and if I save it and I run again, here is our alt text and a little indicator that there's an image that doesn't work. This is a broken image indicator. So we're going to go back to our demo file and we'll update it and put back the original image so we have a working demonstration. Going back, reloading the page, and there we go. Okay, so that's HTML. Next, we'll take a little look at CSS, cascading style sheets, which gives us the styling for our web pages. Allows us to adjust fonts and colors and spacing and positioning, and we'll get into later responsive design so that pages look properly when they're scaled on different devices. Currently, I'm using a PC, and I have a 24-inch monitor, and I'm taking a small piece of the screen and doing this recording to display the web page. You might be viewing this from a tablet or a device with a different orientation or a different screen size. And ultimately, we want to make sure the web page is displayed properly on all devices so they're easily readable. Below, again, we have some text. Again, CSS is written in text, plain text, easy for us to read. And we have some indicators here, the H1, we have the P, which correspond coincidentally to the tags that we use in our HTML page. And you can kind of read it a little bit and to see what it says. For the heading, we're going to change the color to navy blue. The text dash align, center, so we're going to put the text in the center of the page. For the P tag, we're going to change the font size to 24px, 24 pixels, and the line height is 1.5. So we're going to take this piece of code and we're going to put it into our demonstration web page. Now, again, I have to add a little more tag to make sure that the parser understands it and the web browser understands it. So we're going to wrap all this in a style tag. And that tells the browser that what's coming next is CSS. I'm going to save that. And I'm going to go back to our web page. And you'll notice here, this is the original. I did not reload it yet. This is just pure HTML. We have our heading, our text, and our image. If I refresh to load the new web page that I just saved, you'll see things are a little different. We have our navy blue heading, center of the page, and we have our text, which is quite a bit larger. Now, if you'll note, we didn't touch any of this to HTML. We only changed the sizing. So if we wanted to adjust further, let's say we decided we really wanted this to be 36, a very simple change, we can change the size, and we will go back to our web page, refresh, and it gets even bigger. Now, imagine if we had paragraph tags throughout this demonstration, and we had more paragraphs afterwards. We can adjust the paragraph style for all paragraphs with just this one line of text. Very, very powerful. Could also be very, very dangerous if you're not sure what you're doing. You could make something that was working and looked the way you wanted before not look right afterwards. And we'll go into more of those examples in the coming weeks. So let's go back to our slides. And next we'll jump over to JavaScript. So JavaScript is not Java. It is Java-like. It does perform differently in that it runs inside the browser and does not require the interpreter that Java does. So this is a programming language made for the web. It adds interactivity and logic, and among other things, it responds to clicks, so we can click our mouse onto a web page and have it do something. It can be used for form validation. It can be used for animations. And you can see, again, it's a little piece of text that we're going to add to our HTML page, our demo file, to see how it works. And it's a little bit hard to understand, but at a high level, you could see here's our H1 tag. So it looks like we're doing something with a click, and something that looks like a message. You click the heading. So let's take this and we'll put it into our demonstration file and see how we can make it work. So going back to our text file, we're going to add the script, the JavaScript, into the body of the HTML document. Now you could see that, again, I had to wrap it in another tag called script, so the browser would understand what's coming next is JavaScript and not just more text to display in HTML. So we're going to save this. and we're going to go back to our demonstration. We're going to click refresh, and nothing happened. It looks exactly the same. Well, that's because JavaScript is waiting for us to do something. In this particular demonstration, it's waiting for us to click on the heading. So if I click on the heading, there it is. The page says, you clicked the heading. And that was that alert message we saw down here. So you now have the ability to write a simple web page. You have the ability to change the way it looks. And you have the ability to detect when something happens, such as a mouse click. Okay, so let's go back to our slideshow. So how do these all work together? Well, as we've discussed, HTML is the skeleton. It designs what's on the page. CSS is the design, and it shows how it looks. And JavaScript is the brain. How does it behave? So we have the bones, the looks, and the brains. Analogy. Thinking of a car. We have a lot of analogies in this class. So an analogy would be a frame. The car would have a frame, which would be the HTML. The paint would be a paint job, that would be the CSS, and the JavaScript would be the engine and all the controls on the inside. So we've had a zombie kind of reference with skeletons and brains, and now we've got a car reference. I'll try to think of some more good ones later. So it's all well and good that we've created a web page, but how does that web page get accessed? How do we get to a remote computer to get a web page and get this stuff displayed on our computers? Well, that's where HTTP comes in, the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. HTTP is a protocol that defines how messages are sent to and from web servers and end user computers. We're going to look at some of the HTTP, how it works, and some of the messages that come back from it later in the class. But at a high level, HTTP works by typing a web address in your browser. So you could see up here we have a web address. In this case, it's going to our SUNY Suffolk SharePoint site where I have my PowerPoint stored. And when I click on this or submit this document, or if I typed in something else such as google.com, it builds the HTTPS. In this case, S is secure, so it's the same protocol. One is secure, one is not. We'll talk about security later on. But here's our URL. The server, in this case Google, will take our request and process it, and then send us back a page with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to make it look how they want it to look. And this is how they want it to look. So this is an example of what the HTTP request actually looks like when it's being sent from my browser to Google. In this case, it's sending a GET request. It's telling Google to get this index.html. In this case, it's actually requesting it not from Google. It's requesting it from this fake website, www.example.com. It's saying what the type of browser is, Chrome version 131. Well, I'm using Edge, so again, this is just a demonstration. And this is telling me I'll accept text and HTML. And this is the response. This will be the response from Google, or in our case, example.html. It'll give us back a 200 error message, not really an error, but a status code, saying that everything is okay. And it'll tell us what the content is. I wanted HTML, and it gave me HTML. And here is my HTML. A simple statement with a heading that says, hello world. So as we go through the class, we'll take a lot deeper look at tags, a big deeper look into CSS and style sheets, and we'll touch on JavaScript. Now, JavaScript is a whole language that we could probably spend an entire semester on it by itself. Well, CSS for that matter as well. So we're going to get you a good introduction to it. We're going to do a lot of examples, a lot of demonstrations. And in conclusion, these three languages, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, are what really power websites. We're going to learn how to create style in websites. We're going to how to make them interactive. And by the end of this class, you'll have built your own working website. Think about what you want to design. Think of what kind of things you want to display or what kind of functionality you want in a website. Might be an idea for a discussion post. What do you want to do? What can we try to build? What can we try to build as a class? So anyway, that's it for now. If you haven't already done so, read the material in week 1. This is the introduction to the remaining sections of the book. Starting next week, we'll get into the nuts and bolts of HTML. That's it for now.